Jessica relocated from Lagos to Abuja because of the recent job she got. The environment was still very strange to her and she was trying to acclimatize with her new surroundings. She had just started working 2 days ago in a multinational company. It wasn't an easy job, but she was happy to have it because she had longed to pray for it. She had been looking for a good job for a long time, and now that she had found one, she wanted to do her best. That morning, the sky was dark and the air was cold. Heavy rain poured down as it was the beginning of the rainy season, making the roads very slippery. Jessica held her small umbrella tightly as she hurried to work. She couldn't afford to be late. As she got in front of her office, she noticed something that made her stop. Initially, she crossed and walked past, but her mind disturbed her to go back. She battled with her instincts, then she yielded and obeyed. An old woman stood in the rain, shivering. Her clothes were soaked and her feet were bare. She had no umbrella, no raincoat, nothing to protect her from the cold. Jessica felt sorry for her. She walked up to the woman and held her umbrella over her head. "Mama, take this. You will get sick," Jessica said, handing her the umbrella. "And Mama, you need to go home. The weather is so cold." The old woman looked at Jessica with tired eyes and shook her head. "My daughter, I have nowhere to go. I just came from the village in search of my son. I have not set my eyes on him for a long time, so I decided to search for him." Jessica's heart ached. "Have you had anything to eat, Ma?" The old woman said no, that she had exhausted the money she came with. Jessica immediately reached into her pocket and brought out the little money she had for the day. It wasn't much, but it was all she had at the moment. "Here, Mama, take this and find somewhere to stay." But the old woman did not take the money. She looked at Jessica and said, "I cannot take what you need for yourself, my child." Jessica thought for a moment, then she smiled and said, "Come with me, Mama. This building is where I work. Let's get inside. Let me find a place for you to sit. I'll be penalized if I arrive late. You can even stay with me until you find your way." The old woman's eyes filled with tears. "May God bless you, my daughter." Jessica held the old woman's hand and they walked in together. When they reached Jessica's office, she found a small corner in the general guest room for the old woman to sit. She helped her dry her wet clothes as best as she could. As she was doing this, she was asking herself if she was actually on the right track. She was deliberating. What if this woman was a witch? After much battling in her mind, she had a leading in her spirit to help the old woman. She perceived that the old woman had a calm spirit. "Mama, don't worry. I only have a few hours before my break. During the break, I will take you home before coming back to work," Jessica said. The old woman smiled and nodded. She watched Jessica as she walked. This young girl had so little, yet she gave so much. A few hours later, Jessica left the office during her break. She walked quickly under the hot sun, heading to a nearby shop to buy food for herself and the old woman. She didn't have much money, but it didn't matter. Mama needed to eat. While Jessica was still out, Sharon, the CEO's fiancée, walked into the office. Her high heels clicked loudly against the floor. She had come to surprise her fiancé, Kelvin, and loved showing up unannounced just to remind everyone that she was soon going to be their boss wife. As she entered, she spotted the old woman sitting quietly in a corner. Mama was folding her hands in her lap, looking down at the floor humbly. Sharon frowned, looking disgusted. "Who brought this dirty poor beggar here?" she asked loudly, making sure everyone in the office could hear. Mama slowly looked up at her, confused. "My daughter, please do not be angry. I will leave now," she said softly. Sharon responded to her rudely. "This is my husband-to-be's company. You are not needed here, you dirty old woman. Now get out." Mama sighed gently and shook her head and spoke silently to herself. "This girl has a bad character. I wonder what kind of man would take her as his wife." Sharon's eyes widened with rage. "You poor old woman, just shut up and leave. You have no right to mutter words that I can't hear." Mama slowly stood up, her frail hands trembling slightly as she walked towards the door. She didn't argue. She didn't fight back. She only walked out, holding back the tears that threatened to fall. Jessica arrived at the office, excited to share the meal she had bought for Mama. But as she approached the building, she saw something that made her stop. Mama was outside. She stood near the gate, looking sad and defeated. "Mama, what are you doing out here?" Jessica asked, rushing to her. Mama sighed heavily. "My child, do not be angry. A woman came in and told me to leave. She said I was dirty and poor, and that I do not belong there." Jessica was sad. "Who dared to do this to you?" she asked, her voice shaking with anger. Mama hesitated for a moment before saying, "She says she is the CEO's wife-to-be." Jessica's blood boiled. She turned sharply and stormed inside the office. Sharon was still there, sitting comfortably on one of the office chairs, looking at her nails like nothing had happened. Jessica walked straight up to her. "Madam," Jessica called. Her voice was firm and strong. Sharon looked up lazily. When she saw Jessica, she smiled. "Oh, the poor little worker is back. What do you want?" Jessica's eyes burned with anger. "Please, Ma, why did you treat my mother that way? Why talk to an elderly woman that way?" Sharon rolled her eyes and laughed mockingly. "Your mother? That dirty beggar. Oh, please. I warned Kelvin not to employ you, but he didn't listen. And now you're here, talking back at me." Jessica took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the anger in her heart was too strong. "You don't even know if my boss will marry you," she said silently to herself. "I mean, look at you, so mannerless, so full of yourself." Sharon's face darkened. "What did you just say?" she hissed. Jessica stepped farther away from her and murmured, "You heard me. If you can treat a helpless old woman like that, I wonder how you will treat your future mother-in-law. Or do you think she'll be happy with the way you behave?" Sharon overheard her and scoffed. "Never. My mother-in-law is not poor and dirty like that old woman. She is classy and beautiful just like me. I know she will love me when she sees me." Jessica shook her head in disappointment. "You're so blind, Sharon. You think beauty and money make a good wife? No. A good wife is kind, respectful and loving. But you are arrogant and cruel. You will never know what true love is." She raised her voice. Sharon's eyes burned with rage. "I promise you, you're going to lose your job. Believe me, you will regret talking to me like this." Jessica laughed bitterly. "I don't care. You insulted my mother, disrespected her, and now you think you can threaten me? Do your worst, Sharon. I am taking my mother home and I don't care about this job anymore. With that, Jessica turned around and stormed out of the office. Outside, Mama was waiting. When Jessica came out, she could see the pain in the old woman's eyes. "My child, you didn't have to fight for me," Mama said softly because she overheard them from where she stood. Jessica smiled and held her hand. "I had to, Mama. No one has the right to treat you that way. Let's go home." As they walked away, Jessica felt a sense of peace. After Jessica and Mama left the office, Sharon sat in anger. She couldn't believe a common employee had spoken to her that way. Her hands shook as she picked up her phone and called her fiancé, Kelvin. The moment he answered, she pretended to cry. "Kelvin, something terrible just happened," she sobbed. Kelvin sounded worried. "Sharon, what's wrong? Are you okay, dear?" "No, I am not okay," Sharon cried louder. "Jessica brought some of her street friends to the office. They insulted me and tried to beat me up. I was so scared." Kelvin was shocked. "What? Jessica did that?" "Yes," Sharon lied. "She doesn't care about her job. She walked out like she owned this place." Kelvin sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I'll handle it, Sharon. Don't worry. Just go home and rest." Sharon smiled to herself. "Okay, baby. Please deal with her. She deserves it." After the call ended, Sharon leaned back in her chair. "Let's see how you survive this," she whispered. Jessica and Mama arrived at Jessica's small one-room apartment. It was simple. An old mattress on the floor, a small wooden table, and a single cooking pot. But it was a home. Jessica helped Mama sit on the mattress and handed her a cup of water. "Mama, I know this place is small, but you can stay here with me as long as you want," Jessica said. Mama smiled warmly. "My child, it's not about the size. It's about the love inside, and I can see you have a kind heart." Jessica smiled back and began serving the food she had bought earlier. As they ate, Mama suddenly sighed and looked at Jessica thoughtfully. "My daughter," Mama began, "I came to this city for a reason." Jessica looked up, curious. "Why, Mama? What brought you here?" Mama paused for a moment before speaking. "I came to find a wife for my son." Jessica blinked in surprise. "Your son?" Mama nodded. "Yes, my child. He is a good man, hardworking and kind, but he's not married, and I fear he might never settle down well." Jessica smiled. "That's a mother's worry, Mama. I'm sure he will find a wife when the time is right." Mama held Jessica's hand gently. "That is why I want you to be his wife." Jessica's eyes widened and she almost choked on her food. "What? Me?" Mama nodded, smiling. "Yes, my daughter. From the moment I met you, I knew you were special. You are kind, respectful, and hardworking. You will make a good wife for my son." Jessica was speechless. She had not expected this at all. Not even at this moment. It was so suddenly. She looked at Mama, who was staring at her with hope in her eyes. After a moment, Jessica sighed and said, "Okay, Mama, but I have to see him first, and we need to get to know each other before talking about marriage. What if he doesn't like me?" Mama laughed. "Who would not like a lady like you?" Mama beamed with happiness. "That is fair, my daughter, but I must tell you something first." Jessica tilted her head. "What is it, Mama?" Mama paused again before speaking. "My son has no money. He is not wealthy, but he's very hardworking, very brilliant. He has prospects and also very handsome. Jessica let out a small laugh. Mama, stop praising your son too much. Let me see him first before you sell him to me like a market woman. Mama laughed happily. Okay, my child, you will see him soon. Jessica smiled and shook her head. She didn't know what to expect, but she was curious. Just as Jessica and Mama finished their meal, Jessica's phone rang. She picked it up and looked at the screen. It was an unknown number. She waited for a moment before answering. Hello, good evening, Jessica said. A deep male voice came from the other end. Is this Jessica? Jessica sat up straight. Yes, sir. Who is this, please? The voice became sharp and angry. This is Kelvin Williams, the CEO of the company where you worked until today. Jessica's heart skipped a beat. This was her boss. She had never met him before. She had only spoken to him once over the phone on the day she was hired. But he had been away on a business trip and had left his managers in charge. Sir, good evening, Jessica said cautiously. But Kelvin was in no good mood for greetings. Jessica, how dare you? How dare you bring strangers into my office and beat up my fiancé? With your street friends. Who gave you the right to cause such trouble in my company? Jessica's eyes widened in shock. She felt her chest tighten. Sir, that's not what happened. I swear I never brought anyone into the office to fight. I only helped an old woman who had nowhere to go. She was sitting quietly, not disturbing anyone. But your fiancé insulted her and told her to leave. When I came back from my break, I saw the woman standing outside. And when she told me what happened, I went in to ask Sharon. I asked her why she treated her like that. I only defended the old woman, sir. That's all. Kelvin was silent for a moment. Then he said coldly, You should have called me. You should have waited for me to come back and handle the issue myself. Jessica frowned. Sir, you weren't around. And I didn't think helping an old woman was something that needed permission. I am sorry, sir, if I went against the company's rule. Kelvin ignored her plea. Jessica, you're new in the company. You've only been there for a few days and you've already started bringing people in. That's unprofessional. Jessica was getting frustrated. Sir, I didn't bring a crowd. It was just one helpless woman and she wasn't even disturbing anyone. Kelvin sighed. It doesn't matter, Sharon. Sharon said she will leave me if I don't sack you, and I can't lose my fiancé over a worker I barely know. Jessica felt a sharp pain in her chest. So this was the kind of man he was. A man who let his girlfriend control him. She reasoned to herself. Sir, I'm sorry about that. Sorry for yourself, Kelvin shouted back. At this point, Jessica couldn't hold herself any longer. She responded back in anger. Kelvin was silent and Jessica continued, her voice firm. I may have only worked for 2 days, but I've already seen the kind of man you are. You are a woman's puppet. A grown man who can't make decisions for himself, who decides to take sides without proper judgment. Kelvin's breath hitched. What did you just say? You foolish poor girl that I pity to employ. You will go back to the trenches where you belong. Jessica shook her head. And you know what? I don't even care, sir. You can keep your job. I will find a better one. Before Kelvin could say another word, Jessica ended the call. Jessica dropped the phone and took a deep breath. She was angry, but at the same time, she felt free. She had been fired, but at least she had spoken her mind. Mama, who had been watching her closely, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. My child, what is wrong? Who called you? Mama asked. Jessica forced a smile. Mama, it was my boss. He fired me. Mama gasped. Her face filled with guilt. Because of me? Jessica sighed and nodded. Yes, Mama. Sharon lied to him, saying I brought people to beat her up, and he believed her. He said his fiancée would leave him if he didn't fire me. Mama's face dropped. Oh, my child, I am so sorry. I am the reason you lost your job. Jessica quickly shook her head. No, Mama, don't think that way. If I lost my job for standing up for you, then I have no regrets. I will find another one soon. Mama sighed deeply. I feel so bad, my child. You're too good to suffer like this. Jessica smiled. Don't worry, Mama. Jobs come and go. But what matters is doing the right thing. I have no regrets. Mama held her hands. May the heaven bless you, my daughter. You will never lack in life. Jessica smiled, but deep inside, she knew she had to find another job quickly. She had bills to pay, and now she had Mama to take care of too. Jessica and Mama sat in silence. Jessica still thinking about how Kelvin had fired her so easily, while Mama seemed deep in her own thoughts. Suddenly, Mama's phone rang. Jessica turned sharply. She had never paid attention to Mama's phone before, but now that it was ringing, she noticed it was a very expensive smartphone, one of the latest models. Mama picked up the call quickly, and her voice was calm as she spoke. A deep male voice came from the other end, calling her Mama and telling her that he had just returned from a trip. He asked her to come home because he wanted to see her. He sounded weak, and Mama's face changed slightly. Mama asked him if he was okay, and he sighed before saying he was not feeling too well. Mama assured him she would come the next day and told him to rest. The call ended, and Mama slowly placed the phone back inside her purse. Jessica, who had been quietly observing, asked, Who called you, Mama? Mama smiled. It's my son. Jessica was surprised. Mama explained that her son had just returned from his trip and had asked her to come home. He was sick and wanted to see her. Jessica became worried and told Mama she would go with her to see him. But Mama refused, saying there was no need to worry and that she will call her as soon as she gets there and then invite her to come over soon. Jessica sat quietly for a moment, then looked at the phone again. It was too expensive for someone who had just arrived from the village with nothing. She asked Mama how she got such an expensive phone. Mama blinked quickly before laughing nervously. She explained that there was no constant electricity in her house, and she loved watching one particular daily TV show. Because of that, her son had used his savings to buy her the phone so she could watch it anytime, even when there was no light. Jessica listened carefully. She had little mixed feelings about Mama. Your son must really love you to buy such an expensive phone just for a TV show. Mama smiled proudly. He's very thoughtful. He's always cares for me. Let me see the man first before you start matchmaking me with him. Mama grinned. He's hardworking, brilliant and very, very handsome. Jessica laughed again. Stop praising your son too much. Let me see him first now before you sell him to me like a market woman. Mama laughed happily. Okay, my daughter, you will see him soon. The next morning, Mama woke up early and prepared to leave. Jessica helped her pack a small bag. She hugged Mama tightly and told her to please call her when she arrived. Mama smiled and assured her everything will be fine. Jessica watched as the bus drove away. She was feeling a strange sense of curiosity. Mama arrived at her son's house, still wearing her old village clothes. The journey had been long and she was tired, but her heart was filled with hope. She had not seen her son in months, and now she was finally here to meet him. The tall iron gate of the mansion looked intimidating, and the security men watched her with suspicion. One of the gatesmen, a young man with a thick voice, walked towards her. He looked at her from head to toe, his eyes filled with doubt. He turned and spoke into his walkie-talkie, telling someone inside the house that there was an old dirty woman at the gate asking to see the boss and claiming to be the mother. There was silence for a moment, then the walkie-talkie crackled and a sharp female voice came through. The gate swung open and Sharon stepped out. She was dressed in a tight designer's gown and high heels, her face filled with irritation. The moment Sharon saw Mama standing there, her expression turned into pure anger. Sharon crossed her arms and scoffed, her voice sharp and filled with disgust. "You again? You old foolish woman. What are you doing here?" Mama stood tall, despite her tiredness. Her eyes burned with anger, and her voice was firm as she spoke. "You stupid mannerless girl, I'm here to see my son." Sharon threw her head back and laughed loudly. Her laughter was filled with mockery as she pointed at Mama, shaking her head. "Your son? You must be foolish and blind. I think you're going crazy, old woman. You miss your way to your miserable son's house." Mama's face remained calm, but inside she was boiling. Sharon stepped closer, lowering her voice, but keeping the mockery in her tone. "Or did my village people send you to stalk me in the city? Let me tell you now, you will not succeed. You're wasting your time." Sharon flipped her hair back and turned around, walking into the house. Her heels clicked against the pavement, a sign of her arrogance. As she reached the door, she turned one last time. "Never come close to my husband's house again. You are not wanted here." The door slammed shut. Mama stood there frozen. She felt anger and sadness and frustration all at once. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had traveled all this way just to be insulted like this. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed her son's number. The moment he picked up, she didn't waste time. "Come home now. I'm at your gate. And I have never been insulted in my life this way," she said. Her son's voice on the other end was calm but urgent. "Mama, calm down. I'm on my way to the house." He quickly called his housekeeper to make Mama comfortable while he raced back home from the gym. Mama took a deep breath, but the pain in her heart remained. Minutes later, Kelvin's car screeched to a stop in front of his house. He stepped out in a hurry, his heart pounding. He had rushed back as soon as his mother called him. The moment he saw her, dressed in her old village clothes, he was shocked. His mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything for him, came to his house looking tired and frustrated. She was wearing dirty clothes. He could not believe it. His mother should never have been treated this way. He rushed to her side, his face filled with concern. "Mama, what happened? Why are you here dressed like this?" Mama let out a heavy sigh and whispered to his ear, "It is for a reason, my son." She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with disappointment. "My son, I came to your company early today. I disguised myself because I wanted to test your fiancée. You've spoken so highly of her and I wanted to see her for myself, if she was truly a good woman. Unfortunately, she failed so terribly." Kelvin's expressions darkened, his face filled with anger. "Mama, what are you saying? What happened?" Mama took a deep breath and continued. "I was sitting quietly in your office when a kind young girl named Jessica helped me. She gave me her umbrella. She took me to walk with her so I wouldn't be stranded in the rain. She fed me and treated me like a human being. But when Sharon saw me, she insulted me. She threw me out of your office like I was nothing. She told me to leave and never return." "It's okay, Mama," Kelvin said, taking her hand. "Let's go inside. We will talk about everything later." He led her into the house. The mansion was grand and luxurious, but at that moment it felt empty and cold. Kelvin guided his mother to her room and helped her settle in. "Mama, take a bath, eat and relax. You must be tired," Kelvin said. Mama nodded slowly, walking inside the room. She was exhausted from everything that had happened. Kelvin was in the living room trying to calm himself down. His mind was restless, filled with anger and disappointment. He could not believe everything his mother had told him. The woman he trusted and planned to marry had insulted and humiliated the one person who meant the world to him. He remembered how his mother suffered to train him because he lost his father at a very tender age. His heart was heavy as he tried to control his rage. Just then, the door swung open and Sharon walked in. She had a bright smile on her face as if nothing had happened. She walked confidently towards him, her heels clicking against the marble floor as usual. "Honey, did you see that dirty old woman outside? She claims to be your mother. The security guards almost let her in. Can you believe that? Some people don't know their place." Kelvin slowly lifted his head. His eyes darkened and his entire body tensed. His breathing became heavy. The room suddenly felt cold. Sharon continued, flipping her hair and adjusting her dress. "I think she's one of those desperate villagers looking for help. You need to tell your security to stop letting these kind of people hang around the gate. This is a high-class neighborhood and we don't need beggars around." Kelvin stood up slowly, his movements controlled but dangerous. His eyes locked onto Sharon's face, filled with pure disappointment and disgust. "Don't ever in your life speak about my mother like that." Sharon froze in place. Her smile disappeared instantly. She took a small step back, blinking rapidly, her body stiffening as she processed his words. Her face turned pale. Kelvin stood his ground. "I don't care if you knew or not. The fact that you can insult an old woman, throw her out like she's nothing, and treat people with such disrespect shows exactly the kind of person you are." Sharon panicked. She reached for his hand, but he stepped back. "Kelvin, please. I swear if I had known she was your mother, I would never have done that." Kelvin shook his head in disappointment. "This woman made me who I am today. We were once poor, so poor. We had nothing. But with God, my mother and hard work, I became the man I am today. And now you think you can come into my life and disrespect the one person who sacrificed everything for me?" Sharon's hands trembled. She had never seen him this way before. Kelvin took a deep breath, trying to control himself, but his next words made Sharon's heart drop. "I dislike the fact that you lied on an innocent girl and made me sack her. Jessica did nothing wrong, but because of your wickedness and selfishness, I lost a good employee. That was the final straw." Sharon shook her head quickly. No, Kelvin, please. I love you. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was only trying to protect our relationship. Please don't do this." Kelvin's expression did not change. His voice was cold and final. "Pack any of your things in this house and leave and never come back again. We are done." Sharon's mouth fell open. Her body shook with shock and rage. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "No, Kelvin, you can't do this." She talked back arrogantly. "You can't throw me away like this after everything we've been through." Kelvin turned his back on her. He had nothing more to say. Sharon let out a frustrated scream. Out of pride, she grabbed her bag and stomped towards the door. But before she left, she turned back and spat out her final words. "You a foolish mommy's boy. You will never find a good wife like me to marry." Kelvin didn't flinch. He didn't respond. He simply watched as she stormed out of his house. The door slammed shut, leaving behind silence. Kelvin exhaled deeply. He felt relieved but also ashamed. He had trusted the wrong woman. Kelvin sat back in his chair, his mind still processing everything that had just happened. The house was finally silent. Sharon was gone, and the air felt lighter without her presence. He let out a deep sigh and rubbed his forehead. His heart was still heavy with regrets for firing Jessica because of a lie, but there was something else on his mind now. His mother stepped out of her room, looking fresh and relaxed after her bath. She sat beside him, her eyes filled with warmth and wisdom. She had been quiet since Sharon left, but now she was ready to speak. "My son, I hope you see now that I was right. Sharon was not the right woman for you," she said softly. Kelvin nodded. "You were right, Mama. I was blinded by the idea of love. But love without kindness is nothing. A woman who disrespects people can never be my wife." His mother looked at him warmly and began speaking softly. "My son, there is something you need to know. When I was with Jessica, I told her many things about you. What I made her believe was your small achievement. I described your mansion as a small old house in a poor neighborhood. I told her that my son is hardworking, brilliant, kind, but has no money." Kelvin leaned forward, listening carefully. "I wanted to see if she would still agree to meet you, knowing that you were poor." Jessica never hesitated. She only said she needed to see you first and get to know you. She laughed when I praised you too much and even told me to stop selling my son like a market woman. Kelvin chuckled, shaking his head. "Mama, you really made it sound like I'm a struggling village boy." His mother laughed. "I had to, my son. I needed to know if she will accept you for who you are and not for what you have." Jessica passed the first test. Kelvin's face became thoughtful. "But I need to be sure, Mama. Many people pretend at first, but their true colors come out later. I want to see if Jessica will still look at me the same way when she thinks I have nothing." His mother nodded. "So what do you want to do, my son?" Kelvin smiled slightly. "Let's not tell her the truth yet. I want to disguise myself as a poor man and see if she will still accept me. If she truly has a good heart, she will not change when she thinks I'm struggling." His mother smiled, her eyes sparkling with approval. "That is a wise decision, my son. A woman who loves you for your heart and not for your money is the kind of woman you need." Kelvin nodded. "Exactly, Mama. I will call her and ask her to meet me, but I won't tell her the truth yet." His mother reached for her phone, scrolled through her contacts and read out Jessica's number to him. Kelvin saved it in his second phone, stared at it for a moment. He then took a deep breath and dialed the number. It rang for a few seconds before Jessica answered. "Hello, good evening," she said. Kelvin cleared his throat, making his voice sound softer and more humble. He had to sound like an ordinary struggling man and not the wealthy CEO he truly was. "Good evening. Am I speaking with Jessica?" he asked. "Yes, this is Jessica. Who is this, please?" she replied. Kelvin smiled slightly at her politeness. "My name is Kelvin. My mother gave me your number. She told me about you and how kind you were to her. I called to appreciate you and to know if you will agree to meet me so I can see this good Samaritan physically." Jessica's voice brightened a little. "Oh, Kelvin, your mother spoke a lot about you too. She said you were a very hardworking man." Kelvin chuckled lightly. "I try my best. Mama also told me a lot about you, and I respect that. So can we meet tomorrow?" Kelvin asked. Jessica said she'll be going for an interview that day, and it will be best they meet during weekend. "Okay, that will be fine," they both agreed. "Where would you like us to meet?" Kelvin thought for a moment. He needed a place that fit his poor disguise. He couldn't invite her to a fancy restaurant that would ruin everything. "There's a small park not too far from the main market," he said. "It's quiet and has a few benches where we can sit and talk. Would that be okay?" Jessica agreed. Yes, that sounds fine. What time? Around 2 p.m. The sun won't be too hot, Kelvin suggested. All right, I'll be there, Jessica said. Thank you. Kelvin replied. Jessica, I look forward to meeting you. Same here, she replied before ending the call. He placed his phone down and let out a deep breath. His mother had been watching him all the while. She agreed, Kelvin said, smiling slightly. His mother nodded. That's a good sign. On the agreed date, Kelvin prepared for the meeting. He carefully selected his outfit, simple faded jean, a plain t-shirt and a worn-out sneakers. He left his expensive wristwatch at home and took an old cracked phone instead of his usual high-end one. Everything had to fit the role. By 1:40 p.m., he arrived at the park, choosing a quiet bench under a tree. He waited patiently, glancing around casually. He felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. At exactly 2 p.m., Jessica arrived. She wore a simple dress and flat sandals. Her hair was neatly styled. She looked around until her eyes landed on Kelvin. He stood up and waved, and she smiled as she walked towards him. You must be Kelvin, she said, sitting down beside him. Yes, and you must be Jessica, Kelvin replied with a warm smile. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, studying each other. Jessica spoke first, her voice light and playful. I don't know why you bear the same name as my boss who sacked me. Kelvin burst into laughter, trying to control himself. Really? Your boss was also named Kelvin? Jessica shook her head, crossing her arms. Not was, he is. And I will never forget how he fired me over a lie. His fiancée is the most wicked and arrogant person I've ever met. She threw Mama out of the office like she was nothing, and I defended her. Instead of investigating, my boss chose to listen to his fiancée and sacked me without hearing my own side of the story. Kelvin leaned forward, pretending to be curious. Wow, that sounds terrible. What kind of man will fire someone without hearing her own side of the story? Jessica scoffed. There are men who let a woman control them. Honestly, I feel sorry for him. Kelvin held back another laugh. Maybe he regrets it now. Jessica frowned. Well, I don't know if he regrets it now. I have moved on. Let's not talk about that. Tell me about yourself. Kelvin smiled. Well, there isn't much to say. I'm just a simple guy trying to make ends meet. I do small jobs here and there, trying to survive. Life hasn't been easy, but I keep pushing. Jessica nodded, looking at him closely. I respect that. Hard work is important. So do you have dreams, things you hope to achieve? Kelvin's smile widened. Of course. I may not have much now, but I believe one day I'll have a successful business of my own. I want to build something that will last, something that will make my mother proud. Jessica's eyes softened. That's beautiful. Your mother loves you so much. I could see that in her eyes, and anytime she spoke about you. Kelvin looked down, touched by her words. She's the most important person in my life. She raised me alone, sacrificed everything for me. I wouldn't be here without her. Jessica smiled. That's one of the reasons I agreed to meet with you. Any man who values his mother is a man worth knowing. Kelvin felt something warm in his chest. He had met many women before, but none had ever said something so simple, yet so meaningful. They continued talking, sharing little details about their lives. Jessica told him about her struggles, how she had been searching for a job for months before finally getting one, only to lose it after a few days. Kelvin listened attentively, nodding as she spoke. Hours passed and they didn't even notice. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the park. Kelvin looked at Jessica and smiled. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Jessica smiled back. Me too. "You're different, Kelvin, and I like that." Kelvin felt a strange sense of happiness. He had only just met her, but something about Jessica felt right. This was just the beginning, but he knew one thing for sure: Jessica was special. Kelvin couldn't stop thinking about Jessica after their meeting. She had left an impression on him that was impossible to shake off. He had disguised himself as a poor man, but what really touched him was Jessica's kindness, respect, and warmth. He knew she was special, and as time went on, Kelvin realized he wanted her in his life for much more than just a casual relationship. Despite the rocky start, Kelvin decided to make things right. Through his manager, he arranged for Jessica's job to be restored. Jessica was overwhelmed when she received the call confirming that she was back at her position in the company. She had initially believed she has lost everything, but the truth was, Kelvin had made sure that she would have chance to succeed again. The next few months passed, and it passed in a blur as Jessica and Kelvin courted. They spent countless hours talking, learning about each other, and growing closer. Jessica was still unaware of Kelvin's true identity, as he had kept his wealth hidden. But he was falling deeper in love with her and knew he couldn't keep the truth from her for so long. One afternoon, as they sat in the park where they first met, Kelvin finally gathered the courage to tell Jessica the truth. "Jessica," he began softly, "there is something I need to tell you. I haven't been completely honest with you about who I am." Jessica looked at him, concerned, filling her eyes. "What do you mean? Is everything okay?" Kelvin took a deep breath. "When we first met, I was pretending to be someone I'm not. The man you met was not the real Kelvin. I am the CEO of the company you worked at. I am wealthy, but I chose to keep it hidden from you because I didn't want you to like me for my money. I wanted you to like me for who I am." Jessica sat quietly for a moment, absorbing what he had just said. Then she smiled, her eyes filled with understanding. "I knew there was something different about you. I could see your heart, and that's what matters the most. Thank you for being honest with me." Kelvin smiled back, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "I was afraid that you might feel differently, but I was wrong. I'm so glad you understand." From that day on, their relationship grew stronger. Kelvin and Jessica knew they were meant to be together, and they soon began planning their future. Their love story had started in such an unexpected way, but it blossomed into something beautiful. A year later, Kelvin and Jessica got married in a grand ceremony attended by close family friends and business associates. The wedding was nothing short of spectacular, held in a stunning venue with elegant decorations and heartfelt vows exchanged. The couple was overjoyed to finally be united in marriage. After their wedding, Jessica and Kelvin enjoyed a wonderful life together. They traveled to various places, built their dream home, and eventually started a family. They had beautiful children. Their lives were filled with laughter, joy, and happiness that comes from knowing they had found their soulmate. As the years went by, Jessica and Kelvin continued to build their lives together. They ran businesses, helped those in need, and remained grounded in the values that had brought them together in the first place. Despite their wealth, they never lost sight of what truly mattered: love, kindness, respect, and family. In the end, Jessica and Kelvin enjoyed a long, happy life together. Their love story became an inspiration to those around them, showing that true love doesn't depend on money or status. It depends on the hearts of the people involved. They had everything they could ever need, but more importantly, they had each other, and that was all that truly mattered. And with that, their journey continued, filled with love, growth, and happiness for many years to come. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and put your notification bell on so that you will be among the first to be notified each time I post new videos. See you in my next one. Bye.